so much great information. I love that quote that Myra shared about not being able to find magic if you don't believe in it. That's so awesome. I shared something at the breakout session, and I wanted to mention it now because Kathy's here. But Kathy, you talked about going the extra mile. And if you guys have been following me on social media, starting about January, mid-January, I took on sort of a new fitness regimen. I started running every day. And I remember, and it's so funny that I found it to apply the same thing true. Like, I go out there and try to do a basic run every day, about 3 miles in. And sometimes I'll decide, because maybe I don't have to get home quicker, I don't have a BBP, I'll run a little bit extra. Maybe not a full mile, but I run a little extra. But never do I ever run an extra portion or that extra mile and ever ask myself at the end of that mile, man, why did I do it? This sucks. Every time I run the extra mile, I end up going, wow, that was amazing. I can't believe I did that. That was awesome. And I promise you, I'm sure she means the same thing. If you go the extra mile in your business, you'll never come back home going, why did I do that? You'll probably be like, wow, that was awesome. I should do more of that. So anyways, guys, I learned a lot. Hopefully you guys have learned a lot. I have just obviously a short, brief amount of time with you guys. Really quickly, thank you guys again all for your prayers and stuff like that. Melanie is now 29 weeks pregnant. T-minus 11 weeks till we get to meet our baby girl. If you guys also know my good buddy Suman Kim, he is currently going through obviously a pretty devastating skin issue right now, a health issue that it's super, super painful. It's really debilitating that he's going through. Obviously, he's seeking obviously all the professional help that he can get. But again, if you guys can pray for him, I know he would enjoy it. I know he's dying to be here, but obviously because of his condition, he just can't be here right now. So again, continue to say prayers for him. We want him back out in the field again, because I know this is where he wants to be. So again, that would really help out, guys. So that being said, guys, I'm going to jump into my topic, guys. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit on priorities, okay? And I want to ask you if you want, again, if your priorities are working for you or against you, okay? So ask yourself these things as I go through it, okay? And kind of say this kind of in an infomercial voice. Okay, wait, we went too far. All right, ask yourself kind of in an infomercial voice, okay? Okay, here we go. Do you find yourself overwhelmed with obligations? You know, those people that go, right? Do you feel like you're being pulled in so many directions? Right? Do you feel like you do a lot, but nothing is growing or getting done? Right? Or are multiple areas of your life struggling and dissatisfied? Right? Well, if that's you, okay, we got good news. You may be suffering from too many priority-itis, okay? You have too many priorities in your life, and therefore all your priorities are suffering, and we have a cure. Side effects may include sudden growth and success in important areas of your life, a spouse who is suddenly understanding and lovingly supportive, relief from frustration and anxiety, a greater state of satisfaction and fulfillment in your life. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA or Yoli Compliance Department. Actually, they did, and they said that this was approved, so the happy face is there, all right, guys? So let's talk about too many priority-itis, guys. Talk is cheap, okay? So many people talk about their priorities, but their actions are not congruent with their priorities. They talk about how important Yoli is in their life, but they don't do enough of it. They talk about how important health is in their life, but they don't do anything, right? Do we know people like that? Oh, yeah. And it's not just with Yoli and health, it's about everything in their life. People are like, my family's everything. Well, why don't you spend any time with them then? My spouse is so important to me, then why do you get distracted? I mean, the truth is, people, again, talk is cheap. We can say all the right things, but do we truly, are our actions really congruent with our priorities? Mahatma Gandhi says, actions expresses priorities, okay? So we want to make sure, are our actions congruent with our priorities, okay? Here's a couple things to know. No two people have exactly the same priorities. So we shouldn't be in a position to judge somebody just because they're not the same as ours. Now, social standards probably make certain ones more obvious or more common, but again, no two people are going to place the values exactly the same, so it's okay, all right? Now, there is such a thing as too many priorities, which we'll talk about when I do my sort of illustration. And there is also such a thing as not having any priorities. Probably somebody who just meanders through life, doesn't take anything importantly. And then priorities, of course, can differ between generations and ethnic groups and so on and so forth. Like, for example, when I started network marketing, I was 22 years old. And I remember a lot of the boomers would look at these Gen Yers or these kids and they would say, you guys have it so good because we just didn't have the same priorities. We didn't have kids, we didn't have wives or families, so we could invest more of our time into our businesses and so on and so forth. As we get older, and as I've gotten older, I realize I've been given more responsibilities and therefore more priorities. And so I find myself having to go through this juggling exercise a lot more. And I understand that, again, as we get older, we're presenting more priorities. So, all that being said, guys, I want to save as much time for this exercise as possible. We're going to visually talk about what's going on in your life. These look like cheese balls, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, but they're not. They're ping pong balls, guys, all right? So, these pictures represent different priorities in our lives, okay? And they're in no particular order, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull them out. And cameraman, if you can zoom in right about here, we're going to do sort of a PH demo kind of. There we go. See, Dr. Mike? All right, there we go. So, we're all going to have different priorities. So let me kind of start laying some of them out. Like, for example, your job is a priority. And it should rightfully be a priority, right? Some of us, we have, friends, and friends are a priority, right? Let's see, what else? Kids, right? Kids should be a priority. Let's see, we have spouse, right? Spouse should be a priority. I mean, you guys, I guess, can combine this and call this family, right? Some of us have hobbies, and we put some priority towards our hobbies. Let's see, maybe some of us go to church, and so church or religion may be a priority. Let's see, let's talk, our health should be obviously a priority. We've heard all these great messages from Dr. Ben, Dr. Cross, Dr. Mike. I mean, obviously health should be a priority. We're in Yoli, so we should know that. Personal development on some level should be a priority for us. Yoli, right, hopefully is at least some level of a priority for all of us. The ones not here, maybe they don't, yeah. And this was more a joke, but social media. Now, again, this is not necessarily a good thing, but we're going to make a point here, okay? So Facebook might be a priority for some of you guys. For some of you guys, it might be all-encompassing social media. Okay, so what does this pictures represent? So these orange balls represent where you invest. Each of these orange balls represent either time, energy, or effort that you give to what it is that you're doing, okay? Now, there's no, I mean, obviously, if I had 24 balls, I would say each ball represents 1 hour of your time. So this is just a visual exercise. I don't want to give a specific amount of time or energy, but think of this as your effort, okay, or value that you give to what it is that you do. Now, in a perfect case scenario, before you start really examining your priorities, the problem is that in our lives, we believe we have unlimited orange balls. So we go out there and we say, you know what, I'm going to go out there and give 20 balls to every one of these cups. And we could probably do it, but we'd eventually run out. We just don't have that. You only have 24 hours in your day. You only have so much time and energy in your day. There's just no way you can give every cup equal amounts and fill it all the way to the top so that you can see it prosper or grow. So that's never going to happen. We have a very finite amount of balls or effort that we can give everything that we do. Now, the art is this. Remember we talked about too many priorities, right? So let's go out there and let's start splitting these up, okay? If some of these run away, we'll let it go, but... So we're going to start going out there. We're going to give everything a little bit of priorities. Thank you so much. So we're going to give everybody a little bit. So as we go out there, you'll notice... By this point, there's not a lot left for certain areas. As we go out there, we start investing a little bit in each area. Obviously, again, we spread ourselves thin. But again, like I said, there's no one picture that's overflowing or one picture, we can let it go. There's no one picture that's completely overflowing and growing because we have too many priorities. And a lot of us right now, the first problem is, again, if we have no priorities, obviously we have nowhere to invest our energy. So we understand, even without me doing that exercise, why not having any priorities in your life is an issue, right? Okay? So first, if you're not part of that program, let's find you some priorities. Okay? But that'll be a different lesson, all right? But let's assume the biggest problem, the biggest culprit, or the biggest issue is a lot of us have too many priorities, or what we believe are priorities, okay? So we go out there and we want to live life, and here's the problem. Let me go further, because Yoli is kind of a new element for you, okay? So this is kind of the way your life is, and suddenly you're like, Daniel, I have such a busy week, I got all this stuff going on, and suddenly Yoli's been brought into my life, and I'm not sure how to build my business. Well, look, here's the thing, and this I want you guys to see the orange ball. You can't go out there and build your business without sacrificing from some of this. You don't have unlimited orange balls. You can't reach in your back pocket and say, here's 20 more from my back pocket. You don't have that. It's going to have to come from one of these cups. So this is the thing. If you have too many, first of all, then you're going to rob what little is eaten in each cup, right? So the first thing you need to do is ask yourself, as you look through your priorities, and ask yourself, do I have priorities in my life that are not important right now? That doesn't mean it doesn't have to be important forever. It just means maybe not right now. So let's say, for example, hobbies, which can include fantasy football. It might include maybe going to the bar. It might be playing weekend sports. Again, I'm just trying to think whatever it might be into, whatever your hobbies are. Maybe right now this is not an important priority in your life right now. So you take what's in here, and suddenly you've allocated maybe a little bit more effort and energy into this by simply going out there and getting rid of one of your priorities. Now, again, based on the labels we came up with, there's really not many other priorities I want to take off. Like, I don't want to say, let's get rid of your wife, or let's get But just by that analogy alone, you guys can understand, by removing certain priorities out of your life, you guys have too many, by removing, you guys can now allocate more energy there. Here's another problem. Now, I did an equal kind of layout, but let's be honest right now, a lot of you guys are probably in a position where your jobs are probably occupying the majority, and let's be honest, probably we're not doing any personal development, really. Some of you guys are probably not spending enough time with your kids and your wife. You're probably on Facebook and social media more. That's probably what it realistically looks like. Well, let me... There. There. Okay, so this is probably where most of us are at right now. We're probably spending, and it's not by choice, but yes, we have to spend all this time at, 60, 70 hours a week at our job because it pays for our thing. But, okay, like, here's the thing. Our Yoli business, as we started, again, there's not much we can give it. So we want to go out there and find ways, with the little priorities we have, to go out there and do it. So you're going to have to borrow from other places in your life. All right? You have to borrow from other places. So this may require to say, hey, spouse, I'm really excited about, and we'll talk about spousal buy-in in a little bit, and that's a whole different thing. It may require that you go out there and borrow a little bit, maybe half the effort that you're normally giving your wife and the attention that you're giving your wife or husband, and saying, honey, I want to do this. I feel like, and the big key is obviously you have to paint a picture where she's a part of that grand vision and what you're trying to accomplish. And you borrow the energy and effort that you normally invest into your wife, and you go ahead and invest into your own company. Notice I didn't put it into, like, to be something else. I said this is where I want to invest in. A lot of you guys, like I said, here's kind of a big one. Just saying, like, we can borrow a little bit from social media, and then again, hobbies. You guys can borrow a little bit from there and invest it, right? Some of you guys, again, work a lot of hours. Maybe you guys can go out there and, again, work just the hours that you need to. Maybe rob a little bit away from your job, invest into your little business. Maybe, again, say, hey, kids, daddy's got to go on a 30, 60-day sprint. Let me borrow. Now, here's the thing. The beauty of this whole process is it doesn't stay this way. Even as a double blue diamond, this constantly moves. Some people believe that the good people, successful people, they have it all just figured out. It doesn't work that way. Believe it or not, even as a double blue diamond, and again, I don't want you guys to think it's unlimited, I just need more of them. Right? So the way it works is very simple. Some days, some months, my wife is perfectly happy. Everything is going great. And as my business is taking off, she may say, hey, I haven't spent a lot of time with you. We haven't gone on date nights. And so I may have to go back in my Yoli business and say, you know what? You're absolutely right, babe. Let me go ahead and invest a little bit back here. Hey, you know what? I noticed that you're, going out there and you're traveling a lot. I would like to see you invest more time with the kids. So you borrow somewhere else and you reinvest it. So you're constantly going in there. And let's say, for example, your Yoli business is taking off. Let's say you're like Myra Feliciano. One day you're a blue diamond. You're like, you know what? I can quit my job. Or maybe I can go part-time. Let's just go with part-time, right? And you might go out there and say, since I get to work part-time, let me invest a little bit back more into my friends. Obviously, let me invest more back into my kids. Let me invest more back into my spouse. And since I have more time, let me invest more into my business. And suddenly, because you have less time and obligation there, now you can move the effort across where it's more important to you at that moment. Now, this will constantly move around. Again, I need to remind you guys that this will never stop moving. And this formula, people will say, so Daniel, how would you invest it ideally? It's never going to be the same for everyone. And no two people are going to have it exactly the same. Okay? Now, again, there are certain areas where I'll recommend, like, again, stuff like this probably shouldn't have a lot of walls. Not at least right now. Not while you're trying to build. I would take as much of this as possible and try to put in here. And honestly, you should probably go back and put some in here and here to keep them happy, okay? So, does this kind of make sense? The idea of these priorities. Okay, so that's kind of what we're talking about, guys, because I believe we go out there and we naively assume that without sacrificing, Eugene talked about it, sometimes the things you want the most are the things you have to sacrifice. Okay? And what people don't realize is they think naively they're going to introduce something like Yoli, a brand new priority in their life, and without taking away from any other areas that this is somehow going to succeed. And it doesn't work that way. There's gonna be areas where you're gonna feel the pinch and pull and sacrifice in order to make this work. Again, and if you're only giving it bare minimum investments, let's say just like one effort, you can't be bummed out that you're not going to Punta Cana with us. Does that make sense? It's gonna require, see, and especially in the beginning. Again, when I first started Yoli, when Eugene said, hey, Daniel, let's do this. Okay, well, what should I do? And Corey said, hey, how about go diamond in 2 weeks? It wasn't even that. It was, hey, babe, I'm sorry. I gotta go diamond in 2 weeks. Hey, babe, like, I really have to do this right now. Do you guys get that? So I went all in on that. But now that we're at a double blue diamond level, now I've gone back and reinvested back into these cups that I borrowed from. So here's the next thing really quickly, guys. Oh, wait, hold on. All right. So, Mike, did I do it right? Oh, where are you, Mike? Just want to make sure I did it right. So, obviously, we can spend a lot on defining priorities, but again, you have to ask yourself, what is important to you? You know, what are obviously non-negotiable items in your life? That might be spirituality, your spouse, your kids. But again, I think it's not about an all or nothing thing. There are some things that can be all or nothing, but there are a lot of things that can be just trim back a little, reinvest a little, okay? Keep the ones that matter, and that's your ability to focus. And do this with your spouse or significant other's buy-in, okay? Now, here's the thing about priorities. Obviously, this quote is a Russian proverb that says, if you chase 2 rabbits and you can't catch either one. And I don't mean exactly 2, but again, if there's too many cups, too many priorities in your life, none of those areas will succeed or prosper. And that's probably the reason why you feel like you're doing a lot through the weeks, but you feel like, hey, my relationships aren't very fruitful, my relationship with my kids aren't the greatest, my job sucks, my Yoli business sucks, I feel stressed, my health sucks. Some of you guys feel like, well, where did my freaking whole week go? If all these areas are sucking, like, where did it go? It's because it's spread across too many cups, all right? So just kind of keep that in mind. So spousal buy-in, obviously, this is something that we can do a whole lesson on, but I just want to keep it really short and simple. When you borrow, and this is not just from your spouse, it's the same thing with your kids, okay? You need to treat it like a credit or a loan. Okay, that's the best way I can describe to it. When you borrow and ask your wife, hey babe, I need to go and build a business. I need to see if it's okay with you if I can spend 2 to 3 nights out a week building this BVP because I need to do what I need to do. It's like borrowing, it's like going to the bank and getting a credit. When I was 18 years old, 19 years old, I was offered my first credit card. It was through Chase Bank. And when I got my offer, I got a credit limit of a whopping $400. That was my first credit card. Credit limit was $400. Why? Because I didn't have a credit history. And I had a very young credit history, and they said, the amount we can trust you with, Daniel Song, is $400. And guess what I did? I used the $400, I paid back the $400. I used the $400, not all at once, but you know, you use it, pay it back, use it, pay it back, and after a couple months, like, I'm building credit history. Suddenly my credit score is going up, credit activity is going up, and suddenly they email me or they send me a letter and says, hey, you qualified for a limit raise. We're going to raise you to $1,000. Why? It's their way of saying, we trust you. Based on your activities and based on your history, we know that you're responsible and you're capable of repaying those loans, so we're going to now trust you with $1,000. The credits work the same way. You want to lend with small loan amounts with your spouses. Sometimes we all go in and go, honey, I'm not going to see you for 7 days a week. I'm going to go do this Yoli thing. And the biggest problem is not the borrowing part. It's when you guys have to start paying it back to your spouse, and you're unable to, and then you expect for her to lend you more time. And you get upset, you go, my spouse doesn't support me. Well, I wouldn't either. I mean, then you have a horrible credit score. Your lending history is horrible, right? You need to go back and show your wife or your spouse or your kids, like, look, last time we borrowed 3 nights a week, Daddy went on a sprint, and Daddy became a diamond. Hey, look, it's been about a year now. Daddy's going to get geared up. We're going to go on a 90-day sprint. Daddy's going to try to go for blue. Now, if I repaid that loan in full, maybe with a nice ROI the first time around, what do you think are the possibilities that my spouse or my kids will not only lend me the time, but raise my credit limit and say, go do it, right? Because credit history, my history shows that I'm responsible, I'll use that time well, right? And go out there and build a business. And it's not all about necessarily dollar amounts and how much money or a rank, but they just need to see that you're delivering on your promise and you're putting in genuine effort to bring back home what it is that you promised your family. See, so many times we go out there and say, honey, I'm going to build this business. And we go out there and we do, again, busy work, but not productive work. And then after a certain amount of time, your spouse is like, look, I've been watching the babies for the last 3 months. What have you been doing? I know you're doing a lot of Yoli stuff. You know, you're on Facebook a lot, you're on Instagram a lot, you're saying I'm social marketing, but I don't see anything happening. And what you've done is you've borrowed credits and you're unable to repay that. Does that kind of make sense, guys? Yeah. So guys, hopefully that'll help you guys out, guys. Again, when we go through these priorities, guys, this exercise is something that I continually deal with on a daily basis. There's never, Eugene Hong, anybody, you can ask, I'm pretty sure even Robbie, I can look at Robbie and tell you, Robbie, without even realizing, is consciously moving ping pong balls around in his different cups. Some months he's got it, that's why the man's smart. He'll go on, he'll tell Kimmy, and you see this exactly going on. He'll go out, and let's say, for example, here's the Kimmy bucket. He'll say, hey, babe, I got to go out, and I got to go on an East Coast tour with Chris Medina. And he'll borrow a little bit of time away from the family because he's got to go do that. But as soon as he's done doing his tours and start doing and finishes with the field, what does he do? He said, all right, Robbie and Kimmy date night, right? Have you guys seen the hashtags, right? Robbie and Kimmy date night, or Larry Trout. And he does that. He's constantly moving it around. It's not always about this one cup, or it's not always about this one other cup. He'll constantly move it around. Guys, it's the same thing. I mean, health ended up being, this was a new priority for me. In the beginning, there's nothing here early in this part of this year. I ended up borrowing a little bit from my Yoli business because, again, it's at a place where it's starting to do well. I really asked myself, really, what is social media doing for my life? You know what I mean? I borrowed a little bit there. I'm sorry, we're talking about health here. And just with these little investments that I borrowed, again, it's like borrowing on credit, I was able to get great ROI. Again, I feel, weight was never a real big issue. I'm down 7.5 pounds. But again, I feel 10 times better than I did in January, guys. So hopefully you guys can understand that, guys. We don't operate with limitless effort and potential. I know that there are a lot of you guys going out there probably scratching your heads wondering why it is that you're doing so much every week, but seemingly those areas are not prospering. And I'm telling you guys, if you guys can, number one, focus. Look at your priorities and ask yourself which ones don't need to be there first, and then the ones that need to be there, reallocate them. I guarantee you certain areas of your life will start to take off, and I promise you on that. Guys, I'm pretty much done. Thank you so much. I think I'm done. Yeah, guys, I'm done. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Back to the stage, your founder and CEO, Robbie Fender.